Last Wednesday marked the last day that Kenya would receive inbound international flights. Dr. Solomon Mwangi was one of those individuals who just beat the deadline coming into the country last week, and he's been in mandatory quarantine ever since. He joins us now over the phone from the Kenya Medical Training College, one of the government-sponsored quarantine facilities. Dr. Mwangi, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us today.
You're very welcome.
So if you can just tell us, how long have you been in quarantine and what are the facilities like?
So today is basically our 11th day. We are each allocated a hostel, a room on your own. They are clean. We are supplied with toiletries.
Now, in terms of how often you're checked, because this is a virus that we're still trying to figure out, how often does that happen in a day, for instance?
Right from the airport, our temperatures were taken. Then after we were checked in and filled some forms, the medical officers started taking our temperatures, I believe, on that day or so. But since then, they have been coming regularly, since Wednesday this week, they have been coming on a daily basis.
And what's the general mood? Because there were news reports, at least from the Health CS, that several people had tested positive from your particular quarantine camp. What's the general mood of people there?
People have sort of adjusted to this quarantine and with a sort of swaying or fluctuating mood. Of course, you can only imagine people's minds and thoughts psychologically. They would have wanted to be their families, and of course, we understand this for good of everybody. But as the days draw nearby, anxiety levels climb up. As you go through those steps, of course, emotionally and psychologically, there are those fluctuating moods, one not knowing exactly what to happen. But basically, I would say the mood has been good, and everybody looks reasonably happy and looking forward to the end of it.
You've been sharing your experience on a blog, and you shared earlier on when you joined the quarantine process that people were allowed to mingle freely, and of course this being a concern because you don't know who's sick and who isn't. When it comes to the cases now, of course some have tested positive. Are they put into further isolation from what you know?
Okay, let me clarify that also. When I talked about commingling, is in the context that we have our meals outside. They are served outside on some laid tables, and then there's a particular corner where there's free Wi-Fi where people tend to go and catch up with the rest of the world. So we are not quarantined in the sense that we don't ever leave your room.
We've heard that they will keep you in quarantine a bit longer. And you mentioned wanting to see this all end and see family for obvious reasons. But what gives you hope? What keeps you going?
First and foremost, what keeps me going in all these unprecedented instances, I would say, is my faith in God. So I have hope and faith, and that's what keeps me going, that this is part of the process towards the end time. And it's God trying to get our attention. That's the way I understand it, and for that I have hope that this will soon all be behind us.
All right, thank you once again, Dr. Mwangi, for sharing your experience, and all the best.